rolling? Alright. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dryden. I produce under the name Lemay. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm 25 years old. I've been producing for about 7 years now. Is my door closed? Yeah. If you guys have any questions, feel free just to let them rip as I'm playing stuff or going over stuff. If you have anything specifically you want me to go over, I'd be more than happy to explain anything to you guys. But yeah, for the first song, I think I'm just gonna go over this bootleg that I have that's gonna be on Lemay's Locker Volume 3. If you guys are familiar with my music, I've been doing these things called Lemay's Lockers, and most of the time they're just for like edits and stuff like that. But for this one, I wanted to make bootlegs, so everything in this is original except for the vocals that sits on top of it. But I'll just give you guys a little listen, and yeah. Whoops. That's about it. Let's see. Would love to hear your insight on how to go about starting a bootleg and how beneficial they can be to jumpstart your career. So yeah, when I'm starting bootlegs, for me, this might not be the correct way to do it, but for me, whenever I start bootlegs, most of the time I'll just make an original song. So without this acapella in here, I just started this off with just like, I was bored and I just really wanted to make something around this sample that I found on Splice, I think. So I just made this little, it's literally just 2 chords. And then I kind of just went from there. But the bootleg aspect of everything is, for me, I already made a song with this kind of lead called Digital Disaster that is an original, and I give myself kind of like a little rule of thumb. I'm allowed to make an original, a collab, and a remix or a bootleg with the same sound. So if I am so I already used this song or this sound in an original song, so now I can use it for a collab, and I can also use it for a bootleg or a remix. So I don't want to work this sound into the ground, and I don't want like everybody to just be like, oh, that's like Lemay's sound. I want to like just be able to work freely and make, whatever I want. Don't want to be stuck to like one specific sound. So when I made this, I had already like had the original, then I had a collab with Jewels that uses the same sound. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not, or frick it, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to curse, but um, I was like, okay, I need to make this like an original or a bootleg. So then I just like went looking online for like acapellas. I ended up finding this one um, on Benzi's website, Live DJ Service. If you guys have that, that's a great place to find acapellas for music. And then after that, I just like started adding pieces and making everything sound cohesive. But bootlegs can be great for like jump starting your career, because that's a great way to get people to play your music. Especially if you're like bootlegging like really popular pop songs or really popular hip hop songs, it's a fantastic way to ship those off to DJs if they sound good and get them to play those in their club sets and stuff like that, and start to build a relationship with those DJs like that. What's up, Imanu? How are you? Layering on point. Curse away, he says. Okay, cool. Layering on point. Yeah, I could go over the layers. It's really not too much. This bass lead is pretty simple. So I have this layer. Which is literally just a detuned saw. I think this is the patch. I'll show you the patch in a second, but just going over the layers. That's kind of the mids and sub layer. Then you have these little like sine wave things. And then all together they make but the patch, what's that fucking Benzi site you were mentioning? Where do you get all the dope acapellas? I'll type it in the chat. Live DJ Service. Did that go through? Oops, I spelled service wrong, but it's Live DJ Service. What are you attempting to cut out of the mid/sub layer? Just the high frequencies that this synth is taking up. I don't want them to clash very much. I want this just to sound super, like, just simplifying everything. You know, I only have 2 layers, no need to like really get crazy and have both of them playing the same. See how they both kind of cut each other out, and then they'll just sit nicely together. So this one, don't really need that, you know, because this is taking up all of that frequency range. And there's no mids, or there's like no low mids or lows in this one, so you fill that up with this one. Your mixes are super tight. I've just focused on gain staging and found it really helps. Is that something you focus on when you're mixing, or do you disregard it? Of course, that's almost like 50% of the battle is just gain staging. Like, I would say 90% of having a good mix is good sample selection and literally just gain staging. Like, if this kick sounded like shit to begin with, like, I would have to do a bunch of EQing, but on my kick channel, I literally don't have anything. I actually have this turned off because I didn't like the way it sounded. So literally nothing on this kick. I just grabbed this kick, and it's just a good kick ready to go out of the box. Like, you don't have to do anything to it. Oh, so the notch that I have in this, is that what you're asking? This little notch right here at around 100? So what I'm doing with this is like something I feel like listening to ISO's music a lot, I've kind of noticed that he tends to do. I don't know if he does it or not, but like this is something that I've kind of heard that I feel like he might do, is he's cutting out a lot of the frequencies. So like, I don't know how to explain it. When you listen to ISO's music, you can really hear that like low end sub like really like a lot in your headphones. So I was trying to figure out how he gets that still with like that good like bass that he has on top of his sub. It still just slaps. And so I'm pretty sure he's like ducking out that low mids frequency at around 100 with things that like clash with his sub to give it like a little bit more, let the sub breathe a bit more, you know, the like 30 to 50 range sub. This fundamental right here, like letting that breathe a bit more. Hear how that like, this sounds a bit more muddy, than that. I don't know, maybe I'm tweaking, but that's just something I've recently started doing. Awesome, thank you, dude. Of course, man. Feel free to keep the questions flowing. Makes my job easier. I'll show you guys the patch and just how I make the sounds. So, just without this chain that I use on like every bass sound. Haven't heard anything about that artist you're mentioning. What's his name again? The sub technique sounds interesting. His name's ISOXO. I don't know if he actually does that, but that's just something in his music that his music just hits really hard, like in that lower range area, that lower frequency range area, and so I've just been trying to develop methods that, without just asking him how he does it, to help my songs compete with his in the low end area. Okay, yeah, let's go over how I made the sound. So it's literally an init patch. There's nothing changed on this. Oh, I did change this, like the mono legato and like a little bit of the porta is up. If you guys are familiar with Serum, I pretty much exclusively use that. So this is what the main sound sounds like, this one right here. And then I add this little chain. Whoops. Kind of buffs everything out a little bit just with some OTT, 2 things of OTT at 100% because I'm a psycho. And then I guess the most important thing here is like just ducking out the harsh high end. That just sounds like really thin. So I duck it out, and then I add it back with this erosion, white noise, just to get a little bit more white noise. And then I layer that with this. I just bring the unison all the way up, maybe detune it a little bit, and then that makes this. And then what I do is I'll bounce, so I'll take, say I was trying to resample this. In all my Ableton projects, I have a resample channel at the very top. And I have it always like armed like this. And then I hop bound my record button to R so that I could just solo things like this. Press R. Press R, and then it resamples up here. I could copy it and paste it down below. So like this.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Normally I turn the sidechain off before I do this though, because I like to have my sidechain working for some reason. And then I'll record this version. And then I'll put these two together, EQ them and all that stuff, and then I'll make another channel like this. And then I'll cut out these sounds and I'll delete them. I'll delete them from the detuned saw layer so that you get this. And then this. And then this by itself. And then I'll process all 3 of them a bit differently and make these, since these 2 are stacking on top of each other, and these 2 right here, I will EQ them accordingly, make them sit well together, and since this is playing by itself with nothing else playing, I'll normally add some reverb and something to give it like a bit of a room. Sorry, I haven't read chat in a second. Do you utilize any soft/hard clipping in your mix? Of course. I religiously use this plugin called Upstereo. It's literally on everything. It's on my master channel right here before my limiter to soft clip a little bit so I can push my limiter a bit harder. It's on, I think, all of my groups. I could be wrong though. Yeah, it's not on this one. It's on the kick one that I'm not using. I use it so much. Here, I'll just kind of show you exactly what it does. Up Stereo Pro. This thing is insane. But I don't use it the way that you're supposed to use it. So what it's meant to be is like a stereo imaging plugin, right? You mono things out, make things super wide and phase out and bring things back to in the middle where they're supposed to be, like normal. But what it does have is this little thing down here called the shape, and that's like saturation, right? So I never, on my master channel, I never bring it past 0.24, because that's when you'll start to notice it like distorting things. Here, I'll just put it on a kick so you guys can hear it. Okay, that's with it off. And then if I crank it, it kind of just chops the sound a little bit. And then this little sizzle thing, this thing is really delicate. I hardly, sometimes I'll put it at 0.01 on my master, but it adds some like brightness to your sound. Like it kind of sounds like it's shelving up your high frequencies, but it's not like, doesn't sound like it's doing that. It's making things brighter, but not shelving. I don't know. It's like adding frequencies or something. I'm not sure. You could kind of hear it on the kick. Kick's not the best example for that, but I use this thing a lot. This is probably one of my go-to plugins. What are your plans for 2021? 2021, I'm going to be releasing at least a song a month. I have about 25 songs done that I'm sitting on right now, so just consistency with my release schedule is big for me. That's something I've never had, so I definitely want to keep that going. At least one song a month. In January, I'm releasing all of these bootlegs that I've made, so this one, along with I think 4 or 5 others, that will come out a week separated. So for like the first 5 weeks, I think, of 2021, I'll put something out every week. And then hopefully play some shows if everything clears up. How are you processing your sub? So this song, my sub is just this saw bass. Not really doing anything to process it. It's just sitting there. In the next song, I'll go over how I process my sub. My song with Hex Cougar, I did the mix and master on that, so I can go over that for you. Yo, Lemay, love your music. Do you find yourself starting tracks with drop/bass a lot of the time, or what's your process for starting an idea? Thanks. It really just depends. Like when I made this song, I was really just in a rut and like couldn't make anything. So I was just like looking. So what I did was I have all these sample packs over here, like Lemay 2019, Lemay 2020, Lemay COVID samples, and I went into Splice. I don't know which pack it's in, to be honest, but I went into Splice and I just downloaded like a bunch of sounds that I thought were like really cool. Where are they? Oh, new Splice samples. So and I think one of them was like this Mars hit right here, which is how I started this song. And then that is layered with this. And this. And this. And that kind of gave me my inspiration for the whole song, right? So I went from that, and I was like, oh, this is like a cool break idea. And then I just know that I had this sound sitting around. Like, I don't know if you were in here earlier, but I was saying how I don't really like to reuse sounds too often. I like to try to find new sounds and make new things, because I feel like that kind of keeps me interested in what I'm doing and not just like, I'm just like bored running through the motions, you know? But I guess that's kind of what I did for this song, which is why it's just a bootleg and not going to be an original, is because I was like, oh, I have this sound sitting around. I know I can use it. Let's just make a drop in the same key as that break and call it a bootleg. Are you part of music libraries or catalogs? And if so, are they a larger part of your income? If not, are you able to say where your main source of income comes from? Focusing on making some coinage from music at the moment. So I'm actually a full-time musician. I don't work. I don't have like anything that like any job that like any 9 to 5 that I have to go to. I guess the best way for me to say making money as like a full-time musician is just you're your own boss. So the amount of time that you put into your art and your craft is going to return to you. So if you're kind of lazy and you're not like there's so many ways to make money, especially you, Humanu. Like you have a big buzz around you right now. I'm sure if you released a sample pack like I do for like $5, you'd make a decent chunk of change to like pay some bills or do things like that. Another thing that I do to make sure that I could can like maintain and like not have to get a job is I make sure that I don't have a lot of bills that I have to pay for. I don't have a car or anything, so I just bought a moped actually. But so I don't have to make any of those payments. I just need to rely on making sure I pay my rent and all my bills and stuff like that, which is pretty easy to do with making music. You have like your music probably does pretty well streaming wise, so you're gonna get a decent chunk of change coming back for you that way. What promo services do you use to promote? Just my friends. Like I'll just reach out to people and tell them, look, I made this song. Reposting it would be awesome if you have some time and if you like it. If not, no worries. And I actually just signed a deal with this company called Create Music Group, and we're testing out. I have a release coming out in like 8 days on the 11th, and it's just like a self-release, so we're going to test out, and they're supposed to help with that kind of stuff, so we'll see how that goes. Bro, you look like Jewels at this angle. A lot of people say that we look alike. Living below your means is such a great idea. I wish I did that starting out. Yeah, it's huge. Like, I don't really need a car, If I need to get somewhere, I have friends that could take me, or I have Uber. I mean, before all this stuff started. But getting a moped's huge. I can go to the grocery store for myself now. You guys have any other questions about the song? This one specifically? If not, I can just kind of run through some things. Trying to think about what else I could talk about. Maybe the drums. I like this funky bass. Let's see. Alright, I'm just going to talk about the drums for a sec. The kick, nothing going on with this. It's literally just have a smexoscope on it, it's an oscilloscope. How do you know when to stop layering? Kind of whenever the sound sounds full enough for my personal taste. Can you go through the master chain? Yeah, I can do that. So a lot of you might recognize this as the Nightmare master chain. For the most part it is. I just made a few adjustments like different limiter, my up stereo pro at the end, and then I added this alloy in here. But pretty much what it is, it's just this little utility at the very beginning dropping the whole track by 3 dB. That's not necessarily necessary at all. This mid-side EQ, so the sides are being boosted a bit here. And like the normal, if you look at the, I think it's called the Fletcher-Munson curve, it's kind of like reflecting that. And then the mids here, boosting a bit of the sub. Oh yeah, this on the sides, I'm cutting out the sub and the low mids because you don't really need that. That's going to just cause some phasing issues. And then on the mids, I'm boosting a bit of the highs, actually quite a lot of the highs, and a bit of the sub. This dynamic spectrum mapper is fucking crazy. I love this plugin. So pretty much what it is an EQ, right? So if I play the song, you could see this, right? But what you do with this is say, everybody's got that one song that they know of that just has the most insane mix down ever. So what you do is you would drag in that song that you love the mix down of into here, and you would solo it, you would press this capture button and let the whole song play out. And what it does is it captures the curve of that song, and it'll like, here, I'll just do it. Let me see. Do you remember? Let's drag that over here. And we'll just like take this song, Southside by DJ Snake. Why are you boosting the highs on the mids instead of the sides? I've heard people do, because I wanted the mids to stand out a bit more. Like I wanted my snare to like be a bit sharper in the mids area, and I wanted my leads to sound a bit more mono and like stand out a bit more in the mono range as opposed to being wider on the sides. Do you produce with the master on? For the most part, I'd say yes. Unless I'm like fresh starting out, I'll just let it go over like 10 dB. I don't really care. But when I start bouncing the song, I'll put the master chain on, and I'll kind of go through it, do like a real quick master, like just so it sounds like playable, and then I'll work on the master as I'm working on everything else as well. But anyways, this plugin. So what it does, you go like this. You hold capture. I go to the drop first. Okay, so then you have this little curve, right? And then you would take this. And let's put it on the master. Wait, why is it not working? Oh, it is. Shit, I deleted it. Whoops. Alright, screw it, we can just do this. And pretty much what it's doing is it will compress, say your track is going over these peaks in certain areas, it'll compress each individual frequency by using like all of these little knobs and stuff like that, which is really cool, for me at least. So then, hold on. Oh, I'm just going to keep going over this. After that, we have a little multiband compression, just kind of compressing a bit everywhere. This isotope alloy I use. Normally I will use this for the multiband transient shaper to get my hi-hats to stand out a bit more. Maybe a little bit of my mids too to get everything thumping. But I didn't use it on this one. And this is kind of just like adding a little bit of sharpness to your hi-hats, maybe your snare peaks, and just things. Like it's just a transient shaper, but it's multiband, which is tight. Just making everything a bit sharper. After that, we have the Vintage Finalizer, which is literally just a preset in Ableton that I didn't touch. And then I have the up stereo thing. Normally put this at 0.24 and maybe this at 0.01. And then the invisible limiter is a godsend. You could push this thing so far past 0 without noticing any distortion. It's insane. It's just incredible. I love this plugin. That's a must-have for the master chain. Do you remember something November? I do not. When you're referencing those songs, do you use simple MP3s, or what do you suggest getting them from? I guess I think is just an MP3. I just got this off of Benzi's website, I think, but I think he uploads MP3s. But I'm sure a wave would be a bit better, because then the higher frequencies are going to be a bit sharper and everything's going to sound a little bit, cleaner. I'm going to need that VST. Yeah, you got to cop that. What else can we talk about with this tune? Can you go into your drums? Of course. So I'm big into sampling. Like if I hear a drum sample that I really like, I'll just try my best to just take it out of the song. Like that's what I did for this noisiest snare. Literally just snagged it. Such a good snare though. And then I layered it with my snare from my ISO song. And I just Haas affected it. So what it's doing is just delaying the signal. So both of these are panned. One's panned hard right, one's panned hard left. And then on the hard right pan, it has a little 15 millisecond delay on it. So it sounds like it's super wide. And on some of these, there is like a reverb throw. Like that. But here's what the drums sound like soloed. Pretty simple like drum rhythm. There's really nothing crazy going on here. Just using like loops that I made, like this Lemay hi-hat loop. Cutting out the low end from there because I think there might have been a bit like, rumbling around. Don't need any of that. Boosting the highs. I like really high-end mixes. Not high-end mixes. I like really like high-frequency mixes. It makes everything sound clearer and sharper in my opinion. Some people don't really like them, but I do. And then this drum fill, this drum pack is ridiculous. Has the craziest fills. So clean. Pretty sure Cymatics just ripped a bunch of their this dude's drum fills. But yeah, all these are just nuts. And then the kick is just a kick that I made. When I'm making kicks, I'll literally just go like this. I'll just show you how to do this really quick. Just find a random kick. Actually, these kicks are actually not bad. I don't know where this sample pack came from or how it got on my computer, but these samples are so good. We'll just find like a random halfway decent kick. Alright, we'll just use that one. And then all I do is I make sure that this little piece isn't like pre-faded like that because you want the attack for your kick to always be there. Is this minus? No, okay. And then I just add a compressor. Oh. And I just squash the shit out of it. Resample it. And I might do this twice. And since this sounds a bit muddy, take a little bit of that out, and then maybe take a little bit of this out. And there you go. You have a brand new kick. Maybe squash it one more time, just to get everything really brick-walled. And then you just add that to your little sample library, and then you're good to go. You can just throw your kicks in. And you don't have to worry about mixing them or doing any of that stuff when you're trying to get creative. You know, you just drag a kick in and it's done. Do you check your loudness? No, I mean, I just kind of roll with it. My mate is a massive fan of yours, not a DJ or anything, but rates you heaps. Reckon you could say, Churchy, you suck. Churchy, you suck. Are you processing your drum bus with anything? No, I don't really use any busing. Sometimes, actually, I have this cool little trick I'll show you guys. It's like my little secret sauce that I use sometimes. If things are too narrow and I want them to be a bit wider and bigger, I will... Here, I'll just show you one, like a random sample. I want to find something really mono. Alright, we'll do this one. Not that this is a good loop or anything, just so what I do is I add 2 return tracks. Hard pan 1 to the left, hard pan 1 to the right. And then I add this, what is it called? I think it's the Melda Convolution Reverb. Yeah, Convolution Easy. And this is a free plugin, so you guys can go get this. Go down to the sound design tab, and I just pick like 2 random reverbs that are like sound design reverbs and not necessarily like actual reverbs. You'll hear what I'm saying in a second. But I'll bring this up, we'll bring that up. And then I'll change this reverb to be something different so that there's 2 different like signals coming in, you know? And that they're not phasing each other out. Oops, I put this on the wrong thing. I'll do 10. And you get something like that, and then you want to EQ these. Like this. Maybe if one of them's like a bit duller, like this one is, you can boost it. And then instead of it sounding like this, you'll get it to sound like this. See how everything just sounds way bigger and way wider? That's like a really cool thing that I came up with. Just a way bigger sound. Yeah. What pack are those drum fills? They are in... Where are they at? 2020. Exclusions Essential Drum Fills. It's these ones. Which pack did you get the kick from? This pack, I don't know what it's called. I just type in SSUF7 and it just comes with a bunch of really good drums. But the kick I use in this song is a kick that I made that's in one of my sample packs. Damn, those are free. Awesome. Yep. Alright, if you guys don't have any other questions about this one, I could move on to Obeyed with Hex. What's the reverb plugin called again? It's called Melda Convolution. Here, I'll type it in. Or just search this up. Melda Bundle. It's the fire. I think Floss put me onto that. He uses it religiously. So you're doing 2 different reverb plugins on each side. Would they have the same settings or do you change on each side? So what I'm doing is I'm doing the same plugin. It's the Melda Convolution plugin, right? And I'm going into the sound design tab, so they're not like crazy long reverb tails. It's really stuck to like the sound and they're very tight reverbs. And they sound like a little weird. Maybe they're like detuned a little bit or like, you know, something's going on in the reverb. It's not just a straight reverb. And I'm using 2 different presets, one hard pan to the left, one hard pan to the right, so that it's giving you this like, you're not like getting the same reverb on each ear. It's making it sound wider because it's 2 different reverbs, if that makes sense. And then you layer that into your main lead layer, and that like gives you a way bigger sound. Alright, so for this next project, unless anybody has any other questions about this one, anything specific to this project, which I don't think you guys do. For the next one, it's my song with Hex Cougar called Obeyed. I work pretty weird. This song that I just showed you guys is pretty, it's it's like a needle in a haystack, I guess you could say, because I did everything in one project. I'm normally pretty not messy, I guess you would say, but like if I get stuck on a song, I really like to just bounce stems and move it to another project and just have everything be set in stone and just have like just keep the project moving. Excuse me, instead of just like having so much to look at, like I don't really want to look at 64 channels and just like have just a mess, so I'll bounce stems in groups and I try to keep everything moving like that. So that's kind of what you guys are going to see here. This is the first version of Obeyed. I'm going to go through the 3 different projects that kind of move the project forward the most. Save changes, no. And then we'll end up on the final version, the final like mix down and master and stuff. Obeyed, let's fucking go. Let's go, Himanu. Is that how you say your name? Is that your real name? What do you do when you're getting stuck in a song or feeling creatively blocked overall? I either will try to work on something else, or if I really want to work on this song or like work on, finishing that thing, or say I have a deadline that the song needs to keep getting pushed forward and I need to finish it, I will bounce. There's like a bunch of different things I'll do. I'll bounce stems into a new project, give myself a new, fresh view on the song. Don't want to bounce stems because I need to have everything in the same project. Maybe it's a collab or something. I'll just organize everything like crazy because it just kind of helps my mind work a bit better instead of being so clustered and not knowing where things are. Stems is probably the biggest thing for me because then you could really get in. You could like chop things up, maybe make new rhythms, make a new like. You have your drop lead set in stone, right? You can't re-sound design it. I guess you could resample it, but you have it set in stone, so you could like chop it up and make a new drop or something like that, Just get crazy and creative. For me, I find whenever I'm really stuck on music, it's because I'm putting too much pressure on myself and what the song needs to sound like in my head, when in reality, nobody's really gonna care. Like, it's just finish it, like there's no expectations on the song. Nobody's heard it before except for you, so just try to push past that. This is the first version of Obeyed with Hex. Pretty bare bones, as you guys will hear. It used to be called Tell Me because of this vocal that I found, but here. So that's about it. Pretty bare bones, just super basic song, and I was really stuck on it. And I was really stuck on it. So Hex hit me up to put out a song on the compilation on his new label, and he asked me if I had any demos, and so I sent him this one. I sent him a bunch of other ones too, and he was like, let's just work on one. I was like, all right. So then he picked this one. But anyways, kind of how I came about it was I was just bored, and I actually played around with this choir sample first. There was this Omnisphere thing. And I just liked how that kind of felt together. So after that, I made this little bass, this thing. And then after that, we went over here and we started making, here, let me unfreeze these. So this is the main lead here. And pretty much, I don't know why I used 4 EQs to do the exact same thing, excuse me, on all of them. But this patch is literally just saw FMing from another song.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer in every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Another saw. And down 2 octaves. Let's hear what it sounds like. So that's what it would sound like without FM. And just right in that sweet spot of 50% is good. So right in that 50% sweet spot. And it's just super detuned off of a non-detuned saw wave. My sound design game is pretty weak. My resampling game is pretty strong though, but my sound design game is ass. So I have that layered with this one, which is just a detuned saw, I'm pretty sure. Oh shit, what did I just do? There it is. So this is just a detuned saw, I'm pretty sure. Oh, with this, my little, the VR Fat Rack. If you guys don't have this, this is free. Definitely should download it. I'll type it in the chat. Get that. That's huge. Instant just processes your sounds for you. Adds a lot of beef and like really good mids to your things. But it's the exact same patch as the last one, just with the FM turned completely down. Layered together. And then all I have processing wise on both of them is a little bit of peak right here, a shelf. And then some OTT at 100% because I'm crazy. And just some EQing, cutting out the lows because I have this layer here for the sub, which is not processed. I do the processing in the Mixdown project. Let me read chat. You say you're sitting on 25 tracks. How many hours do you say it takes for you to finish a track? Actually, quite a while. Some of the songs that haven't come out yet, I have been working on for like 2 years. It just takes a long time for me, but I took a year off of releasing music to really sit down and focus and just write a lot. So that's where a lot of those songs are coming from, is from in 2018. I took a year off of like releasing music just to write a bunch, and so that's where like all of my music that's coming out now is 2 years old for me, and some of the stuff that hasn't even come out yet is like 3 or 4 years old. So I'm just a little, except for this one actually. I made it on January 23rd of this year. It was when I started it, so it's almost a year old already, and it just came out. But yeah, it takes me a while. So, some tracks takes me. A lot of the ones that have come out, like Mumble and Digital Disaster, if you guys are familiar with those ones were quick. Those were done in like maybe a week. Some songs take me years. It just really depends on wherever you feel like you're happy with the song and if you have a deadline. Deadlines are huge because they make you finish shit fast. How do you make your build-ups? Most of the time, for me, I've been doing kind of the same thing for my build-ups recently, but there's really not a build-up in this song. I'll show you when we get to the Mixdown project. How did you process this vocal? Not too sure. Okay, did a lot of shit actually. So I have this vocal rack that I found online somewhere that works pretty well. I'm a big rack guy. Some reverb for, I think, some reverb throws maybe. This washout to kind of wash everything out. Auto filter to bring it in. Let me know if I'm going too fast as well, because I don't know. If you guys need more explaining of anything, just let me know. I can dive into things. And then just an EQ and a gate. I use a gate to sidechain. I don't use a compressor to sidechain. But yeah, this vocal actually doesn't even say tell me. It says like don't leave or something like that. Yeah, don't leave. But I just figured if I call the song Tell Me, people will just think it says Tell Me. Thoughts on self-releases versus label releases for someone at your level? I'm not entirely stoked with the 50% labels take. As an upcoming artist, it makes sense to go with label for exposure, but once you've got that exposure like yourself, would you leave? Let me see if there's more to this. Leave to the self-release side. I wouldn't even say that I'm at a good spot where I could even start to self-release. I still would heavily rely on labels. If anybody reaches out and is part of a label, I'm going to take that deal over self-releasing any day of the week, unless I already have something set up, like say a sync deal. Like, so say like my music was getting played, like an unreleased song of mine was getting played on ESPN, as like the Monday Night Football theme song. Then a label approached me and was like, hey, we would love to put this song out for you. I would say hell no, because then they would take 50% of your sync deal, which your sync deal is probably going to be paying you a hefty amount. So I would say no, and I would go with the self-release in that aspect. But other than that, in terms of exposure, I still would go with labels for sure. I noticed you have pretty hard sidechaining happening. How do you go about sidechaining for your project? So I use a gate, and here's my lead sidechain. What I do, because I guess the reason behind why I use a gate is probably pretty important. So when I used to use a compressor, I would notice that when I would compress really hard, like if I really wanted like a deep sidechain, which I really like that sidechain, your kick, everything sounds like stuck together and everything sounds really cool. I noticed that the compressor, when it pushes really hard, starts to distort the sound a lot. So it I don't know, I just didn't like the muddiness and like how it sounded really distorted. So I wanted to find a new route, and I was listening to Ricky Remedy's music, and I was like, man, his sidechains are like so sharp and just like everything sounds so good. And I was like, maybe he's using a gate. So I like experimented around, and I started to sidechain using a gate. The only thing that you have to do is in every project that I start, I have these they look like teeny tiny little hi-hats. That's actually what they are. It's just the attack of a hi-hat. It sounds like that, but I don't have the thing turned on so you can't hear it. And what that is my sidechain trigger, because you want something really short to trigger the gate. Otherwise, it's going to take way too long to come back. And then all you do is turn on the sidechain, you hit flip down here, and then adjust the threshold. I normally stay in between -20 and -30 for like a good sidechain sound. And if you have a bigger kick, you could use this to make it take longer to come back. It's kind of just personal preference there. And then that's about all I touch, and you're good. Alright. I noticed you had, okay, I already did that one. Every 8 bars on the drop or when the next part comes in, right when the drum fills hit, it feels as if the sound is widening right there. Is that happening? Or is it maybe the reverb automation? Yes. So what it is this washout right here. It goes up. And pretty much all that this washout is just a filter and reverb. With, I guess there's more, compressor and EQ. But this is just something you could type in online. Just type in washout filter or something like that, and you'll find one. Excuse me. And all it's doing is just, you could watch right here, high passing it and adding some reverb. And so it's kind of just the reverb makes it sound wider. I think that's where you're getting that from. Damn, that's crazy. You have unreleased with your sync sub company. I didn't know that that was an option. Only thought it was release tracks. No, I mean, I don't have any that are like that, but that would be an example of why I would want to release solo. But as of right now, I would still much rather release with a label. From my mate Churchy, you've been such a staple in the trap scene for such a long period of time now. What made you chase the trap scene and not other genres of EDM music that have arguably more clout in the US, i.e. dubstep and future bass? For me, I was making future bass for a while, and I was playing shows, and it was just like super whack to be an opener making future bass and playing a show because like you can't bang out, you can't have fun, and that's one of the main reasons why I started the Lemay project, was because like I wanted to be able to play hard, aggressive music no matter what time slot I played. And so I was like, fuck it. They can't tell me I can't play my own music, so I'm just going to make my music hard. And if they want to book me, they'll book me, and cool, like that works. But it's just way more fun to play shows for me personally and play aggressive music, which I feel like I'm not doing it due justice to like the headliner by being future bass dude that they book that I just bang out right before they go on, but I'm also like I'm making everybody happy, you know. I get to make cool aggressive music, which is fun. I get to play my music at shows, which is dope, and everybody's happy. They can't get mad at me for playing aggressive music because they know I make aggressive music. Which tip would you give to a beginner to get better mixes? Sample selection. Make sure the samples that you are choosing are high quality. Excuse me, I have something in my throat. Yeah, sample selection, and don't go too crazy, you know. Don't at the very beginning, don't be trying to like layer 50,000 drum samples together to make a drum. Just find a good drum, you know. It might take longer, but if you want your mixes to sound good off the rip, do that. If you want to get better at mixing, try layering, and eventually you'll get good at layering your drums together, and then you'll be able to make everything you want. I gotta try that gate thing. I too like really sharp sidechaining. Yeah, use the gate, or I'll show you later when I get to. Let's just open the new project. Version 3. No. Or you could use a utility. That's kind of annoying to do in Ableton. In FL, it's a lot easier, but using like just gain, like automation. Devil's advocate question: what defines good samples? Just something that sounds, you know, good. Like if you listen to a sample and you're like, oh wow, this sounds cool, but I'm gonna have to EQ and do this and that to make it sound like what I want it to sound like, then I wouldn't even pick that sample. I would just go find another sample that's like, this one's perfect, and then boom, drag that in. Do you use mixing plugins like Ozone? Yes, I use Ozone, I think 4 or 5. One of the earlier ones. Okay, so this is the project once Hex sent it back to me. We have a break now, and you can hear he added a lot of fills and stuff, and he went in, he killed it on this shit. So that's what he sent back to me. I mean, it didn't sound just like that when I got it back. I did a few things to this, but um, yeah, so we made a bunch of changes there. I guess the biggest change was adding in this break sound. So he had this, when he sent this back to me, this was muted. I thought that sounded so sick. So I just took that and I layered it with this sample, or not sample, this sound in Omnisphere. And that's like pretty much the basis for the break. Same question, how can one distinguish a good sample from a bad one? Just like what I said, just finding something that's perfect for what you're looking for and not something that's like, I'm going to have to EQ this out of this or do this to that, you know? For how long have you been producing? 7 years. Roughly, I think. But yeah, so the project went to there. The build in this one is a bit better now. So we have this like breakdown breakbeat, just like some hi-hats and stuff. The clap from my song Organized Confusion in the intro. That layered with a crowd clap. And then this build snare that I made for another one of my songs. And then all that combined makes the build up. So it's nothing like too overwhelming, you know, just like good drum samples, everything's kind of building the energy cohesively. What else is going on? Oh, and this song was such a pain in the ass to find a good snare. That one's too thin, you know. The original one was way too thin. I wanted like a rocker, like a rock feel, you know, like an acoustic almost sounding drum. So that one just didn't work. This one didn't work. This one didn't work. That one didn't work. And then eventually we kind of just were like, all right, let's just use this one for now. Ended up not even using that one in the final project. I changed the snare again. Changed the kick 3 times in this song too, from that kick to this one, which is where we landed. About the bass sections on this track, how wide are you setting them? Also, anything else mono besides the sub? Maybe. So the lead, where's the lead at? He added this layer, which sounds kind of mono. I'm not sure exactly if it is. Let's see. Not exactly, but it's pretty down the middle. This layer, definitely not mono. I don't have massive, so we had to bounce that and send it to me. That's in the last project I'll show you. That's definitely not mono. So none of these are really mono. Maybe did some like mid-side EQing on the master. No. This is his thing. How did you layer that snare? Okay. So the snare, the first one is layered with this little clicky thing. It's got a good low end body to it. Then this snare, good snap and punch to it. This Apache snare. And then this one, no, this one's not in it. This one, clap layer. And then all of that is layered with these 3. That's got really good acoustic body to it that I liked. Another clap layer, and then, I don't know, oh, this is just hi-hats. That isn't layered with the snare. But then all of those together, I bounced that out, which I didn't even end up using this, but here's like the up stereo to kind of mesh them together a bit, 24.03 to make it a bit harsher on the high end. I'll show you. Yeah. How do you go about layering so many drums for your build without it getting too busy or messy? A lot of times I will do this thing. So, well, first of all, this build snare right here is all of the different drum hits are all different volumes, so that it doesn't sound like, just somebody just like a robot smacking on the drum. It kind of sounds like a real person, hitting that drum. And then they're all kind of doing different things, like adding to the same rhythm though. And then you have the clap layer coming in. They're all like different, like slightly different rhythms, so they're not just like their like main fundamental point of contact isn't all on the same, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not hitting at the same time. And then you have this layer, which is kind of the really wide layer to make everything kind of sit in a bed of clap. Do you ever think about layering so many transients on top of each other, or just run them all into up stereo and YOLO? Yeah, I definitely should not have done that, but it ended up sounding halfway decent, so we went with it. But definitely not something I would recommend doing. But we didn't end up using the snare to begin, or like at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I'll show you guys the final snare and how we layered that one in the next project. Remember how I said I do like multiple project thing, so. Could it be possible to see how you made those basses in Serum? Yep. So the main one, that one is just FMing. It's just FMing from B. So you have to keep this on, turn the level all the way down so they're not playing at the same time, and then FM. Then you get that one. There's really nothing crazy going on here. That's about it. And then this one is just the exact same patch. Oh, not the massive one. This one is the exact same patch. But without the FM. So turn the FM down. And turn these EQs off, and you'll get this. There you go. And then I have this Nexus is what I use for my sub. Just a basic sine wave. I don't know why I use Nexus. I think it's because I bought this plugin and I'm like, I can't not use it. So I just use it for my sine waves. But yeah, that's about all that there is to the sound design. There's a lot of cool fills that Hex added. Like this fill is pretty tight. It's this dude saying like fuck the beat up. And then this laser, and then this. Pretty tight little fill. What's that doubler plugin on them? So I do actually use this quite a bit. It's for vocals, right? So if a vocal is too mono, or you're not getting enough voices out of the vocal, or you're not like, you didn't record enough takes to maybe like layer the vocals super wide, I just threw this doubler on there. So without it, it sounds like this. With it, oops, actually I need to turn this FM back on. 250. Sounds a bit more mono. And pretty much all it's doing is just adding different slightly detuned voices to the left and the right and boosting the high-end frequency a little bit. It's from waves. Good plugin. I use this a lot. But yeah, like I said, it's meant for vocals, but I use it on things that are not vocals. And then you have the VR Fat Rack, adding a little bit of buzz and a little bit of beef to this sound. Damn, VR Fat Rack really making stuff thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, eh? Yep, 100%. Thank you so much, man. I used to think one needed to layer more stuff for those basses. No. Simple is good. Alright, so let's go to the mix down session. Oh. Bang me with some questions, fellas. Could be personal stuff, life stuff, music stuff, anything. Where's everybody from? Who inspired you to start producing, and who do you listen to get inspired if you do that? So, I guess just probably like at the beginning was probably like Skrillex. I'm sure that's the same for just about everybody, I think, though. And then over time, Martin Garrix probably would be like my biggest inspiration or like idol. I used to love like the Big Room House stuff, and I just like admired like how young he was and just like absolutely killing it. Still look up to that dude a lot. But who do I listen to get inspired? I try to not listen to very much EDM at all. I just listen to like piano and vocalists, like singer-songwriter type songs a lot. I listen to my own music a lot of my unreleased stuff. You know, like I like it, so I listen to it. Like humble brag, I guess. And I guess like a lot of RL. I don't really listen to his music too much though. I just like to like, I don't know, just like pick his brain a bit, talk to him. That inspires me. Floss too. Do you use monitors or headphones mainly? I don't even have monitors. I'll turn the camera for you guys. So this is my wall. I don't have monitors. I just moved into this room. So I do not have my monitors set up yet, but when I produce, I only use these Apple headphones. These are my go-to. I've had these since I started producing. I haven't changed the pair once. I do clean them. They are clean. And just recently I started using like my gaming headset, which I'm using right now. And I've just been producing on these two headphones and my Mac laptop. I'll use the laptop speakers as well. But that's just how I've done it since I started, so I've never really used monitors. Your snare buildups are some of the best I've heard in trap. Can you go over how you make them sound so organic? Yes, I can do that actually. I'm going to go over this mixdown session really quick, and then I'll open up a new project and just make like a drum buildup really quick. Any tips on making an income without giving so much away? I guess you must have a bit of coins saved up from shows and stuff. Not really. Just like put out sample packs, do anything you can, do like, you know, anything. Somebody can offer you a job, take it, do it. Just be a yes man, I guess. If somebody is offering, unless it's something you genuinely do not want to do, like if you don't think it's smart to like become like, say like fucking Trojan Condoms wanted you to become their brand ambassador, and you were like, that doesn't really fit the Himanu brand or the Lemay brand, probably shouldn't take this deal. Then don't do that, you know, that's not smart. But you know, anytime somebody comes up to you with a proposition or something, even if you're afraid to do it, just try it. How's it like gaming with RL? It's cool. He's a dope dude. But yeah, this is the mixdown. This is the final version we got. I will show you guys how I made the snare and all that stuff. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to kind of skim through this because I'm sure you guys have heard this a lot. I'm just going to kind of get to the new points, like new things we've added and made. That's about that. Okay, going over the snare first, and then I'll show you the side chaining my sub. So this was the old snare. Trash. So I ended up just finding this one that I love. I've actually been using this snare in like almost all of my projects recently. Good body, good like boxiness sound to it, and layered it with this. And that's the snare. Didn't do anything to merge them together or anything. Kind of just, they're just in this drum group that has nothing on it.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
So then the kick and sub relationship, to me, that's pretty important because you can come across a lot of phasing issues if you don't do this properly. So what I did was I downloaded this plugin, which is, I'm pretty sure it's free. It's called the Smexoscope. It's an oscilloscope which allows you to see the waves, like the waves of waveforms and stuff like that. So when I play, I always put my kick and sub in a group together with the oscilloscope, not necessarily the only thing, but the main thing on here. And then I put a utility on my sub, and I will make the kick and sub mesh perfectly together like that, so that there's no peaks and anything coming in that's like phasing each other out. Everything sounds perfect and really wrapped up together, just like that. That's what you want it to look like. You don't want any crazy dips, you don't want any crazy peaks, so you just kind of got to fiddle with this. See how there's a bit more of a peak there? If you do this, it'll look like this. You don't want that. You want everything to just really be cohesive. So I've landed on that, and that sounds good. And then along with that, sometimes I'll leave this sidechain on so that when the snare hits, it's still getting sidechained out a bit. Any artists you'd love to collab with in the future? Yeah. Himanu. Floss, I have a song with him already. And then RL. And then after that, I probably want to start dipping my feet out into different genres, not EDM, and just, hopefully in the near future here, I can be big enough to like reach out to some people that I like to listen to and maybe make songs with them. Is that drum break composed in MIDI or audio clips? So everything in this is audio clips because it's the final mixdown session. But this drum break, I think this is what you're talking about, this breakbeat section. So I didn't like the kick and the snare that Hex added in here, so I just sidechained that out. Sidechained the boom of the, you can see right here, I took out the like mid frequencies of the kick, and then I layered in my own kick and my own snare. And did the same thing with the sub here so that it's cohesive with the kick and really well meshed together. But yeah, everything's in audio. This was probably a loop or maybe something that he put together. I'm not sure exactly, but he sent me this to add. How'd you become better at layering sounds together just doing it? You gotta it's one of those things that like I could tell you tips and tricks, which I feel like I have been doing, but it's just one of those things that like you're not gonna understand it fully if you don't, do it. And a lot of it's really just trial and error. Like a lot of times for me, when I'm trying to layer stuff together, I'm just either scrolling through presets or just throwing, like, just doing random stuff, you know? A lot of trial and error. Same with the way I make music is a lot of trial and error too. I don't know if things are going to sound good. I just throw shit out the wall and whatever sticks I move forward with. What pack is that snare from? So that snare is from this June Miller drum and bass pack I downloaded. Great sounds in here. So it's in here, snares. I love drum and bass drums. Yeah, a bunch of those. Could you give an example of how it would look if you had a phasing issue through that plugin, or how we could recognize it? Yep. Is this the drop sub? Yeah, cool. I need to pull this mixoscope up. See how these peaks? See that big here? Fuck. This big one right here? You want to take it down a little bit. You kind of want it might still be phasing a tad bit, but you want it to kind of taper down. Just these like couple peaks right here. I wish it would just freeze, not like go away. Let's see if we could make it worse. So really, you know, because it's already kind of sidechained. Maybe this will make it worse. See how all of them are just up now? And then if I were to take this, copy this over here. See how it's getting a bit better? It would still need a bit more work. But that is better than, see how they're all just up here phasing. Of the songs you start, how many percentage-wise hit the cutting room floor, aka never finished? I would probably say 90% of the songs I start never get finished or released. It's quite a few. Let's see what else is cool. Oh yeah, this last drop, this was like kind of a random thing that I did. So the last drop used to sound like this. And I thought it might need, you know, just a little something extra to add to it. So I took this atmosphere layer, this layer, and I made it follow, like I just went inside of it and automated everything to follow the lead, pitch wise. So that sounds like this. And that helps the second drop sound a bit different from the first. Kind of sounds like a choir. Really appreciate the examples, very informative. Of course, dude, that's what I'm here for. As you guys can probably tell, we changed the vocal sample. Hex added that. He wanted it to be a bit more aggressive, so just went with it. It's a sweet vocal technique, thanks. What else did we do to this song? I don't really think we did too much. I had two different hi-hats in here. This is the way that I organize my mixdown sessions as well. I have drums, drop leads, breakdown leads, vocals, and effects. So I just have these main groups here, and then I bounce out my sidechain so that I could make everything super cohesive. And then within my drums group, I have my build drums in a separate other group so that I could process those separately if need be. And then I have my high drums, like my hi-hats, and pretty much just things that need to be side-chained to my kick. Put them in here. Which I didn't even end up side-chaining them because I think they already were. Yeah. And then I have my drop leads, which I can process all together. A little mid-side EQing going on here, just taking the mids out of the low mids out of the side frequencies. Breakdown, nothing crazy. Just like cohesion is what these main groups are doing, just adding a bit of cohesion. When you export stems, it looks like you've done it mostly as individual tracks. How can you do that if there's processing on the groups? I just leave the group processing on and export each individual stem. So they're all going to be affected by that group processing, if that makes sense. But most of the time I do grouped stuff. Like the clap, for instance. Remember how it was 2 layers? It's now 1. For the most part, my goal here when I'm bouncing stems for my mixdown project is to limit the amount. I don't want to be in the 50s with number total of tracks. I want to be as low as I can so everything is just super easy to look at, super easy to work on, and super easy to make changes to. Or do you carry the processing of the parent group over into the next project? No, I just bounce it with that on. And something I do too that's probably pretty bad is I bounce stems with my master channel on. So everything's just getting squashed. That's why everything looks so brick walled. But that might be why I get my music to sound so loud. Because I'm just running it through my master channel like 3 times, bouncing stems over and over again. It's not the right way to do it, but it gets the job done, so whatever. What would you say to artists that find it really hard to commit to audio and do new sessions like this? You just got to try it. Once you try it, you're going to love it. I feel like it makes everything sound better in a weird way. It just sounds like, I don't know, less clustered, and I don't know, maybe it's just the visual aspect of it, but for me, I feel like it makes everything sound better. And it's nice too because you're keeping the project moving. You know, you're locking things in. You're getting things done. You're not just sitting there listening to your song over and over and over again, like I get caught doing a lot. You're moving things forward. You're locking things in stone. Yeah, you can always go back to the old project and adjust things if need be, mixing wise, but you're really nailing things down and keeping the project flowing. Why do you cut out the low mids out of the sides? Because I wanted everything to kind of come more towards the middle. And you don't need those low mid frequencies on the side of your head as well. You want your mids and your low mids to be straight down the middle because you want them to just sit pleasantly with the sub and the kick and stuff. Those things should be right down the middle. How did you choose your artist name? It's my mom's maiden name, and I wanted something like Diplo or Flume where it kind of sounded Skrillex, sounded like made up, and it was also one word. So I just went with my mom's maiden name. My name's Dryden Brown, but my mom's name was Penny Brown, and then before she married my dad, it was Penny Lemay. So I just went with that. Do you sidechain groups differently? No, I use the same sidechain for everything. That way, when a kick hits, everything sounds like it's ducking the exact same way. Everything except the sub. I do the sub by hand, like this, with the utility. Everything else is sidechained the exact same way with the same exact gate settings. But if you select all individual tracks in the export process and then the processing from the groups. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So what I do when I bounce stems, Himano, is I'll go like this. So say I don't do it up here in like this little export spot. I just go like this. Like say I had a bunch of different, say this was more unorganized, I would go like this and solo them. And then Command Shift E or whatever it is. I forget what it is. My hands are weird on the keyboard right now. Normally it's Command Shift R or Control Shift R. And then I would bounce them like that into a folder and make my own stems like that. Takes a bit more time, but I'm a control freak and I get to control it, so it's nice. Okay, we're running out of time. I'm just gonna go do that drum build thing that I forget. I wonder if he's still in here, but that dude wanted to see how I make drum builds, so I'm just gonna show him really quick. excuse me. Lemay build snare. Boom. Saw this on a Cashmere tutorial on YouTube. So I just took it from him and put in my own drum samples. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I do this in MIDI. But the drum samples that I have are all the same. So it's all the same exact drum sample. Slightly, so this one over here, slightly panned to the right. This one's centered. This one's slightly panned to the left, as you can see here. All using the same organic drum, which is probably the most important part, is finding the right drum sample. And then all of them are EQ'd slightly differently. So this is the one that's panned to the right, EQ'd a little bit. This one EQ'd differently, and this one EQ'd differently. And then all of them are EQ'd like this. And then I have a compressor to kind of squash them a little bit. And then when I go in here, it's all by hand. So I do this. Say I wanted to do like a triplet kind of thing, which I find myself doing most of the time. Just like this. And I'll make this one is going to be my main snare, right? So this is my main fundamental snare. So this is playing the really big hits, you know, the most important ones when you're doing the build up. And then I come in here, and with these ones is I'll cycle through. So I'll go top one, down one, top one, down one, top one, down one, until I like the rhythm. Maybe I'll go like this, and then like that. And then I'll go through here, and I'll adjust the velocities by hand. Like this. Maybe we'll do like 1, 2. We'll start like that. See how that sounds. Boom, copy and paste that, and we could do some shit like this. Boom, like that. Copy and paste that. And then for this last one right here, we'll go crazy. Boom, bring this up like this to about that level. Actually, probably should do this. And then when you get up to here, just half time it. Like this. And then, sorry if it looks like I'm squinting at my screen, my eyes are dry. Maybe do one of these. I don't know how this is going to sound. I'm just throwing shit at the wall like I normally do. Something like that, you know, just kind of get crazy with it. And whoa, that sounds weird because it's like that. Like that. Boom, do another one of those. And then for this last one, go crazy with the same exact drum. So it just sounds like it's really repeating. Or if you want it to still be organic, you can put them on different things and adjust the velocities as you see fit. Boom, like that. And then you would add like, let's do like a clap loop here as well. These are off grid. Boom. Boom. Then you have your little organic clap loop and organic build. That's all you gotta do. But alright, fellas. I had a blast. Hopefully come back on soon and maybe do another one once I have some more music out for you guys. I would love to hear what you guys make. So please, here I'm gonna type my email in the chat. So please send me some stuff. I'll give you guys some feedback on what you guys are working on. I'd appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys. All right, I'm gonna get to work on some tunes. Peace out.